Good morning. This is Pastor Ernie Lewis of the Blue Point Church in Sisney, Illinois, with your thoughts for Thursday. This week we have been looking at Deuteronomy chapter 6, a passage that reminds us to build a spiritual heritage for the children of Israel in those days or for our families today. He tells us in verse 5, love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul and strength. In the next verses he says, teach these words diligently to your children. And then later on, he says, bind these words on your hand or on your doorposts or on your gates so that you'll remember. In Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 12, he says, then beware lest you forget the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. You shall fear the Lord your God and serve him and shall take oaths in his name, and you shall not go after other gods. Beware here sounds like a very strong word to use. If you've seen these signs, beware of dog. My neighbor had his sign up years after that old dog had died, but it did make you a little careful or cautious. He means here, be extremely careful or cautious and take heed to these words, lest you forget the Lord. Now that really sounds preposterous to me. How could we forget the Lord? But if you look back at the children of Israel, in Exodus chapter 14, God opened the Red Sea and allowed them to escape on dry land. And with that, he destroyed the armies of Pharaoh. In Exodus 32, the children of Israel are building a golden calf out of all the gold they brought out of Egypt. And they are actually saying, this is your God, which brought you up out of the land of Egypt. If I had been God, I'd have wiped them all right off the face of the earth right there for forgetting what he had done. How did the people not crucify Aaron for coming out and building this golden calf? Oh, I know what happened. They forgot the Lord their God. Beware, lest you forget the Lord who brought you up out of the land of Egypt. Has God ever done anything miraculous in your life? Beware now before you answer. If you don't think God has done something miraculous in your life, you probably weren't paying attention. God has done many miraculous things in my life, not the least of which is giving his own son for my sins and raising me from the dead. You know, Ephesians chapter 2 said, you were dead in your trespasses and sins, but the Lord made you alive through Christ by his rich mercy and grace. So please take heed to the warning, lest you forget the Lord your God. He also says, you shall fear the Lord your God and serve him. Now, I know people like to water down that word fear and use words like reverence or respect. But I really think there needs to be a fear of God in our hearts and in our minds that would cause us to serve him, cause us to follow him. Serving him in a way to keep us close to him and following his will. By the way, he also says, take oaths in his name. In other words, you need to make some promises and declare some vows. Declare publicly the fact that you follow the Lord your God. In verse 14, he says, you shall not go after other gods, like the gods of the people around you. Don't get caught up in this world's ways and live like they do. Lest the anger of the Lord be kindled against you and he destroy you, he said. That was always a fear for the children of Israel, especially in the ways that they forgot their God. When I read about places like Sodom and Gomorrah, or even the world in Noah's day, I wonder what caused these people to forget the Lord their God. Beware lest you forget him today and follow him and serve him in a way that's pleasing to him.